Hello, everyone. Welcome. So good to see you all. We'll get started in just a moment. We'll give folks about a minute to get set on their computers and log on to a 2 o'clock meeting, and we'll get started. Your time is precious to us. And again, we appreciate you pausing today to join us, to hear about this process and to engage with us. So again, thank you. Know that we have done Zoom for a while, so feel free to drop your name and your school in the chat. Also, mute. We'd love to see your cameras on, but it's not required. Love to see who we're talking to. Put some faces, some names we've been dealing with in email, and always at AR Boys State on our social media platforms. Follow us. And I promise you'll find some engaging things, especially the week of Boys State. We really flood that with your young men who join us during that week. All right, it's 2:01. Let's get started. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you again for joining us at this opportunity to talk about a program that each of us as staff really love and adore. And we're going to try to share some of that love with you and processes around how you get your young men registered for the Arkansas American Legion Boys State program. I want to introduce some of the folks who are on the call. You're going to hear from all of these faces today that are involved. We have most of our operations leadership in this space, and there are 3 houses to our program staff. We got the operations side of the house, we have the instructions side of the house, and then there's staff who manages our counselors. And so today we have with us our Director of Operations, Craig Depew, our Assistant Director of Operations, Mr. Andrew Brodsky, our media relations coordinator slash manager slash all things technology, the guru that's managing our Zoom today, Mr. Caleb Turner, and then our office manager who does a lot of the day-to-day operations during the week and doing the registration as well, Mr. Thomas Hammaker. And you will be interested to know that many of these folks are from across the state, but also across the country. I'm in Kansas City, that's somebody in Ohio, and somebody out in New York, all who are engaged in the Arkansas American Legion Boys State program. So here is the makeup of our time today. One, it is us to tell you about what is Arkansas Boys State. That's always a question we get, and we have lots of rumors out there about who we are. So we want to kind of share the truth about who we are as a program and what our mission is within this space. We also want to talk to you why you should send boys to Boys State. And what the benefits of sending your young men. If you've not had young men to come back and share with you, we want to share with you what that looks like. And then we're going to share with you what to expect when it comes to Arkansas Boys State 2022. Then what does that registration process look like? Pretty simple. We're going to be fast and furious as we go through here, but we do want to capture your questions. And so if you have questions along the way, we have folks looking at the chat. We'll capture those throughout the time we're together, because we may answer some of those questions as we go along. And so we want you to put them in the chat, so just in case we don't, we can come back and hit those questions for you. So we'll jump right in.
So it's nice to see everyone. What is Arkansas Boys State? That's a great question. I know many of you have sent delegates before, but at its core, Boys State is a civic engagement and leadership program for the most inspirational and promising youth in the state of Arkansas. And so Arkansas is not unique in this regard. Every state except for Hawaii has a Boys State program that sends students to a similar type process as we do at some point every summer. However, each state, of course, has their own structure and guide to it. Arkansas Boys State, as you can see on the screen, is moving into its 81st session. We've been operating since 1940. We only took 2 years off ever. One was for World War II in the 40s. The other was for the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. But we are back at it, and we are really excited to be in an in-person session this summer at the beginning of June. I would also be remiss not to mention that Boys State is co-presented by the American Legion. The American Legion is really the core of the program that provides the support and the direction for Boys State. The American Legion is the world's largest veteran organization. There are over 2.8 million members across all 50 states and across several different countries as well. With such a large history, Boys State also has a very large alumni base. So a couple names you might recognize are former President Bill Clinton, former Governor Mike Huckabee, current U.S. Senator Tom Cotton have all participated in the program, among several others. So sending your students to this program really gives them a great opportunity to connect with other talented individuals from across the state and learn a little bit about themselves along the way. So our program is structured such that we are really creating a mock state among the students that participate. So we will have the overall Boys State, but then as you can see on the screen, our state is made up of 8 different counties that each student, each delegate will be sorted into. Each county will have a couple different cities that are within it. And then they will really create their government from the ground up there. So they will elect a mayor, a city council member. They'll discuss different problems along that way. Ultimately creating the government for the entire state, electing a governor, senators, representatives, a agriculture commissioner, you name it. We really do it there. And then as far as our staff is concerned, each of these different counties will also have staff members associated with each, helping lead the students and the delegates through that process. The learning objectives that we're looking at in our program are really fourfold as well. So the first is that we want to help our students think critically about their views and communicate those views to others. So first, you want to make sure that our students that we're working with have thought about why they believe what they believe. The second aspect of that is that we want them to be able to effectively communicate why it is that they believe what they believe to their peers and others that they're working with. Our second objective is to help students become better leaders, both in their personal communities, their home communities, but also the larger state community, and really provide them with the tools they need to be a leader further along in their life, wherever that may take them. The third learning objective is to get them more involved in civic processes across the state, across their city, and across the nation outside of the program. So our hope is that by presenting these opportunities and these mock processes to students through the program, they'll have a better understanding of the process as it works in the real world. And then the final learning objective is to just build relationships with people from across the state, across the world, honestly, that have different viewpoints than them. Sort of relating back to that first, thinking about why they believe what they believe and then building those relationships. So as Lloyd mentioned, one of our teams is our instructional team. So once your student is at Boys State, they will be split into one of 4 different schools of instruction. And as your student is registering, they will be able to preference which of these they are interested in. The first is the School of Public Administration, which is focused really on the day-to-day operations of governments and how that process works. The second is the School of Society and the Arts, which is sort of what it sounds like. It focuses on everything related to culture and media within a society. So people that are interested in the newspaper, people interested in reporting, documentaries, things of that nature would fall into that category. The School of Commerce is sort of the business and economics aspect of the management and running of a community. And then finally, that School of Public Service and Politics is where all of our delegates who are elected to different offices will move into. So once a delegate becomes a state representative or becomes the attorney general, they will move into that school to learn more about what those elected offices do on a day-to-day basis. We also have a wide array of areas of instruction that will occur through. So I've already mentioned elections that will take place throughout the program. We also have various simulations. So those will be things that occur throughout the week that citizens of Boys State have to respond to and react to, whatever that may be. We'll also have several breakout sessions, which are where we bring in different outside speakers or members of our staff to present on some sort of other topic of interest. And those groups are split up separately from those counties and cities that delegates are split into, to allow them to really have an opportunity to learn something new and connect with different delegates that they might not interact with at another point in time during the program. Beyond that, we also have a lot of extracurriculars. So your students will not be coming and sitting in a classroom for a week at the beginning of June. We have plenty of opportunities and options for them throughout the program. We will always have a regular flag football tournament, basketball tournament. We also have different video game options. We have a debate club, and a lot of different ways for students to get involved and bring their own interests to the program as well. That includes a band, a choir. If someone's just really interested in comic books, they can bring that and they have time to work through that. We will also bring in a lot of different speakers to present to the entire delegation on various different topics. So those range from a lot of different categories. Last year, we had a couple professors from the University of Arkansas talk about politics and polling and public opinion in the state. We've also had various elected representatives come and speak, and a wide other array of people along those lines. The last thing that I want to highlight is our leadership discussions. So those will occur every day at the end of the day among the counties. And that is where the delegates really just have an opportunity to debrief the day, talk about some of the ideas that they were exposed to, and discuss and debate those with their fellow delegates, and really have that opportunity to be pushed and learn and grow in a comforting environment where they feel supported in exploring those different opportunities. So now that you have sort of a base of what the program is, I'm going to toss it back to Lloyd to talk a little bit about why you should send your delegates to Arkansas Boys State.
Awesome. Great job, Andrew, of giving context to our program and the many areas and facets of it. I did fail to mention, I am Lloyd Jackson, Executive Director of our program. I get a chance to work with some awesome men. All of these men that you're going to hear from today and all those men who are involved in our program are former delegates. And so we are recovering Boys Staters. We get a chance to do this every year because of our love. Completely volunteer staff that comes back to pour into the lives of these young men for a whole week, taking vacation, taking personal leave to do this work. And for more context, I am currently Assistant Superintendent for School Leadership in Kansas City for the Kansas City Public Schools. But I spent, prior to getting to Kansas City, 14 years within the Hot Springs School District, going from math teacher into middle school, assistant principal, high school principal, and then landing my last position there in Hot Springs as the deputy superintendent of that system. And so I have been with this program now for the last 23 plus years, one as a delegate, and then the last 22 of those on staff in some form of capacity. And so wholeheartedly, I'm very biased. I'm just going to put that disclaimer out there. I'm very biased about this program and think every young man on your campus who's a leader in the classroom, who's a leader within organizations on your campus, who's a leader on the fields of play or the courts of play, should be engaged in this program for this week. It is truly a week that shapes a lifetime. And we have some data to prove that. You know, we did virtual this last year, which it was the first time we did that kind of conversation and made it work. And we saw some great gains from that. One, the students left us in large part, 96% of our delegates who were with us, even in the virtual experience, left us with a keener knowledge around politics, government, and civic structure. And so that is in a week, we are shaping an entire state government from city on up to, we also send 2 young men to Boys Nation, which they go to Washington, D.C. So we shape that knowledge and expose them to the different aspects of it. Not saying everybody who comes to us has to be political or has to have this great love for government, because we all find a place, as Andrew said, to really find our niche in Arkansas American Legion Boys State. As we communicate our views, again, 92% of those that we polled came back and said, I improved my ability to communicate my views. So not only did I get a chance to hear from others, but I can share what I'm thinking, how I'm thinking it, and in a way that's productive across both sides of that aisle. And then the last thing we're going to put on the table for you is that we built some very meaningful relationships, even via Zoom, even via technology. These young men built some very positive and some very lifelong relationships that help shape their views of the world around them, and also get a chance to hear from different perspectives from across the state of Arkansas. That's even more robust when we're in person. And so we do want to share some of the testimonials from our program. Jeremy Hunt is the 2019 governor. Again, we elect all the constitutional officers for the state of Arkansas, and this governor comes back to our program at the end to come back and, in essence, be the chairman of the Boys State in the next year as governor. And so Jeremy is at the University of Central Arkansas, and he left with some connections, some resources, wisdom, and knowledge, again, with his peers, but also with these men who were a part of that program. And then we get a chance to hear from a parent. And so our social media gets really lively during the week of Boys State, as moms and dads and aunts and uncles and former Boys Staters, our alumni, get a chance to kind of relive or live vicariously through these young men. And it says, this parent, Miss Allison, says, this program gave my son the confidence and knowledge he needs to move to that next level, whether it's college, career, whatever that looks like. It gave him that confidence. And this program does that over and over again. We have both anecdotal data to support that, and then here some actual quantitative data. And so we have a 1972 delegate who posted on our social media and said he attended in 1972, and it's still one of those incredible gifts that keeps on giving. I give back to this program because the American Legion Boys State program started on a Sunday with me being a stranger in a foreign land with 900 men, and it ended on a Friday with me being involved with 900 of my brothers, my closest brothers that I still run into today. I still get a chance to connect with, and they're doing some great things. And so as I sit here, it is a program that when I was a high school principal, I advocated for. In Hot Springs, we sent 10 young men and 10 young ladies, men to the Boys State program, the young ladies to the Girls State program, and we fundraise. Our young men did not have to pay for a thing. And when it came to this program, we had businesses engaged with us, our banks, our local Kiwanis, Rotary clubs, all gave and sponsored a young man to be involved in this program, again, because they were supporting the leaders of our school who were in those classrooms as leaders academically, who were on the fields and courts of play, leading, and those young men and women, in this case, because they went to Girls State, they supported those leaders who were in our social clubs, the Student Government Association, and the Young Democrats, the Teenage Republicans. They were supporting them, and they did it without any issue or challenge. And so we reached out every year and said, we want you to support, and they supported in a large way. So what I found when we do this, there are a couple ways that schools have done selection of these young men to Boys State. One has just been by self-select. I raise my hand, I want to go, and that young man get a chance to go. What we found to be most beneficial is when it becomes that honor and the school selects those young men. May that be a nomination process by the counselors, by the teachers, and then the staff selects who I'm going to send. And I would recommend, if you're asking me, I'm going to send about 10% of my junior male population. So if I have 200 young men who are juniors on my campus, right, I'm going to aim to send 20 young men to Boys State. That's going to be my top tier, 20 young men, cream of the crop, how you want to put it, who are leaders on my campus to be involved in this program and make it an honor to do so. And what we have found, no matter what their exposure is to politics, or what their exposure is to camps or conferences, when they come into this space with us for a week, it really does shape them and shift their perspective on not only life in general, but their future and what they can see as a possibility as they see the wide and breadth of Arkansas and what it brings to the table in its diversity. So certainly we encourage you to send as many as you can. but certainly your top tier, your quality young men to the program, because they're going to really benefit from it. I'll turn it over now to our Director of Operations, Mr. Craig DePue.
All right, thank you, Lloyd. Appreciate it very much. As he was just saying, I think he was starting to answer some of our questions. Thank you for bringing those our way. Please put them in the chat, and we're going to get to them by the end of this webinar. The one thing I just saw earlier, I feel like I have to answer it now. I think someone asked about driving their own vehicle. Yes, we have a mix of students that do drive their own vehicles. We've even had students carpool, where maybe the same students from one school carpool together. We do take their keys once they get settled in and everything, and we ask them to park in a designated area. But it's a big mix. It's a mix between that, and also a lot of times parents come, and we welcome parents too. We have a lot of parents that come in and they hand their kids to us, and it makes them feel better to do that, and we welcome that too. And then they can kind of see firsthand the program as we're kicking it off, and then of course they come back on Friday to pick them up. So to kind of go through the details here, Boys State this year is May 29th through June 3rd. So that's a Sunday afternoon. We'll kick off registration. We'll get them settled in, let them know where their dorm is, and give them all the information that they need to get settled. And then they'll be with us 100% of the time through that next Friday afternoon. And it's on the campus at the University of Central Arkansas. We're lucky to be there for our 40th year in a row. We know UCA very well. We've worked with them for a long time. They're an excellent partner for this program, and they virtually let us own the whole campus essentially through that whole week. So we're very excited as always to stay with UCA. And we're going to be in person this year. Now that is, as Lloyd said earlier, we were virtual in 2021, and we can always be ready to go virtual again. But I can assure you that's not our desire. We know this program is so much more when it's in person. So we're making all plans to be in person this year, and that's going to be our plan. And the only reason we wouldn't do it is if we just couldn't make it happen, or it wasn't for the best, health and safety of the students. Yeah, and so then to kind of give you like a cost and value, just an overview there. $250 is the tuition. And really, this is typically sponsored by your local American Legion post or a local business. So as Lloyd said earlier, it's very normal for the schools or the communities to have sponsors, banks, individuals. There's oftentimes individuals that have gone, alumni. I'll speak for myself. I have sponsored students in the past, and it's something I try to do to give back. But often if you'll ask former delegates or businesses associated with former delegates, they will more so than not sponsor these students to go. We have had it where schools have paid for it. And then even at the most, I won't call it extreme, but even if necessary, we have had the students or their parents pay their way. Again, we don't really advocate that, because then it almost feels like you're self-signing up and self-paying, but we won't keep a student from coming just because it has to be a local business or anything. Again, the number one method is the local American Legion post, and we have several posts that are active in soliciting funds. They're calling, making those phone calls, and they're calling. I know, like up in Northwest Arkansas, we've got one post that calls for several schools in the area, and they every year they just try to get a large pool of money for it. So just keep that in mind. Of course, if you have any questions, especially around scholarships, maybe you've got a student and you've just tried everything to get them covered and you still can't, please email us. You can always email us at info@arboystate.org, or go to our website. You'll find that email there. Look us up, email us. We're very responsive. Several of us get those emails, and we try to be very responsive to that. We're willing to help. We can even help maybe try to put you in touch with someone. And really what that value covers, you'll see here, I won't read it word for word, but you're getting all kinds of materials. We offer additional merchandise there that they can buy and resources. You're getting, 6 days, 5 nights of room and board. All that's covered, of course. There's not anything extra that you just have to pay for when you're there. So you can make it the whole week without any additional money per se. But we do offer additional merchandise and other things in a canteen, concession stand that they can buy if they want. They're also getting 15 meals, and really every one of those meals is all you can eat. Yes, it's a cafeteria, but it's all you can eat. We don't limit the amount of food that they have and food and beverage that they have. So, want to share that as well. And then, there's all the other operating costs, all that's provided as well. So the $250 is all inclusive, and we believe it's a very good value for what they experience at Boys State. And I think with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tom and Caleb here, and they're going to walk through registration.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Craig, for that. I know that you briefly touched on working with the American Legion posts and saw a question in the chat about that. I'll get to that in just a second. First, I know that you're all excited now, having heard Lloyd and Andrew and Craig extol the virtues of the program. It's a program that's changed the life of all 5 of us that are presenting today, and certainly changed my life. And so now that you're pumped up with that information, let me give you the details of the registration timeline. And I also have a feeling that this is the part that maybe you'll have the most questions on. So really starting now, we're in the high school nomination period here, where you, the high school counselors and educators, are able to go online and nominate your students. And Caleb in a minute will demonstrate how that works and the website to do that on, and how you'll be able to navigate through that process. But that's the current period that we're in. We really feel strongly that we really get our best young men to the program when it's you, the educators, and the people who know them best, who are selecting them and nominating them and saying that this person is passionate about serving their community, is passionate about learning more about government and taking their place in the world. And now is the time for you to do that. And that deadline will extend until February 23rd. Okay. After that period, starting shortly thereafter on February 23rd, after the delegates have been nominated, there's a period running until March 30th, where then it's on the delegate to go in and register and provide us some information about them, about their interests and which school of instruction they might prefer, and really what they, how we can best fit them into our program. So we'll collect information from them about that, about some of the things that we'll be able to pair them up with, like a t-shirt, and getting information that'll help us do that. And also just make sure that they, during that period, it's also a good time for them to reach out to us if they have questions about the program. So really that takes place until March 30th. That'll be the period where they'll go online and do a very similar registration process that you will as educators, and register themselves. And then the last part of the process is the payment process, with a target deadline of May 4th. And this is the part of the program where really we try to collect payment for those delegates in advance of the program, and collect the funding for that. Know that there's some questions on that, and I do want to let you know that we understand that these deadlines, one, that we understand that sometimes other events come into this. Last year we had a pandemic that changed things several times. We understand that you might be dealing with several things as we approach this deadline. Really, if you have any questions on it, or maybe difficulties in doing these things, please feel free to reach out to us, and we can help you through that process. Okay, also wanted to cover working with your American Legion posts, and Craig talked about it, that is one of the ways that we provide funding for delegates, and that delegates come to our program. There are, I think 75 or 100 different Legion posts in Arkansas that can provide funding, that sometimes do, and that do a lot of other civic engagement activities in their communities as well. And really, we see that several times in Arkansas, schools will be able to reach out to those programs and to secure funding through that Legion post to send delegates to the program. That process might look different, varying post to post. So there are some Legion posts that they already have an established relationship with the school in their community. They know how many delegates they would like to sponsor. The school knows that information going in, and you're probably aware already if that's the case for your school. There are other posts that are open to being approached and open to receiving calls from the school. I would say that's the case for most every post in the state of Arkansas. That if you find the post that's most near to your town, or that covers your area, and they're open to receiving a call from you and potentially sponsoring a delegate. And I'll also say that it varies post to post from how much engagement they would like to have with that delegate leading up to the program. There are instances where the post would like to be involved in interviewing or talking to that delegate before he goes to the program. When I was a delegate from Hampton High School back in 2014, I got invited to my local post in El Dorado, and they brought me in and fed me a nice dinner. And I got to meet some of the very nice Legionnaire members there, and got to hear their stories and about how the American Legion has changed their lives and impacted them. And I think that that is always great when we can do that and have those delegates interact with them some way leading up to the program. So that process typically looks different for each American Legion post. If you would like any help in contacting your post or figuring out which post is yours, one, I do want to let you know about a resource that's on our website. There is a map of Legion posts that's available on our website. I'll paste the link now into our chat if you'd like to have that as a resource. But also want to let you know that not only is that available on the website, you're also free to email us and we can help pair you up however we can. Frequently, we might have a contact with that American Legion post that we've already worked with. And other times we might be in the dark on it too, but we can certainly help you find that contact and reach out to them. With that, I'm going to turn it over to my friend. And actually, we were in the same county back in 2014, my friend Caleb Turner, and he's going to show you a live demonstration of the registration process.
Hello, everyone. Great to be with you all. I know that I'm seeing some familiar names in the participant pane and in the chat in the last several years, having talked with y'all during the registration process. So I'm glad that all of you have joined us and excited about the students that you'll send to Arkansas Boys State 2022. Like Thomas said, I want to preview what the high school nomination or registration process looks like for you all. So where you go to our website, enter the names of the students that you want to attend. So if you go to arboystate.org, on the home page, you'll see this link called High School Registration. You can also navigate from the menu up here to go to registration and then high schools. If you click on that page, it'll take you to kind of your resource page that has all of your dates, deadlines, important information. But in particular, to complete that registration process, I want you to look for this link over here, the high school registration link. Click here, and that'll open up our registration portal. You should see this great big banner with the Arkansas Boys State logo that says online registration. For those of you who sent, my computer is blocking the bottom of my screen. For those of you who sent students to Arkansas Boys State 2021 and have registered with us in Sports Engine, which is our registration portal, you can use your existing login. But for those of you who have not used this registration portal with us before, we'll just ask that you create a new account so that we have your information on record. But like I said, if you registered students last year, log in with your existing credentials. And if you didn't, create a new account. It's just like you would create a new account for any type of portal on the internet. So I want to pause here. So I've logged in, I've entered my information, and I'm actually in the registration form now. And I want to pause here and provide clarification because we get some confusion here. So this page says, who are you registering? And I know that the instinct for some people is to look for a student's name or have the space to enter a student's name. But because this is the high school registration, you are registering yourself, or you are guiding yourself through this process to nominate those students. So in the example here, Caleb Turner, if I were a high school principal, I would be selecting myself because I am registering my school. So select yourself and it'll pre-populate there based on how you've set up your account. And then go ahead and start filling out the form. So we'll ask for your name and your title, your contact information, so we can get a hold of you if we need to. We'll also ask for information about how many students are how many male students are currently enrolled in your class of 2023, so that we can kind of have a benchmark for the number of students. And then you will select the number of students that you want to nominate to send to Arkansas Boys State 2022. I'm just going to choose one for brevity and for sake of time. If you're sending more than 10 students, I would love if all of you sent more than 10 students and had to utilize this feature. If you're sending more than 10 students, you'll just click 11 plus, and then it'll allow you can submit 10 students' names at a time. So you'll just have to do a second registration with those additional students who are over 10. But like I said, just for sake of time, I'm going to just nominate one. So then it'll ask you information on your school. So the school name, I went to Pangburn High School in White County. So go Tigers, represent here. I think I saw Cersei, someone from Cersei High School here in the chat. So it'll ask you for your school's information. Obviously Pangburn is not in Fayetteville, but that's where I live now. Enter that information. And then the final piece of this form is to enter the information of the student that you're sending to Arkansas Boys State 2022. And so I'm going to enter the information as if I was nominating myself. So you'll enter the delegate first name, last name, their phone number, their email address, and then we also ask that you provide a guardian email address. And so I'll pause here to make a note too, which is that the reason that we ask you to enter the delegate contact information here is because we will use this information that you provide to send an email to those delegates at the end of February, prompting them to begin their piece of the registration puzzle. So when you provide this information, that's what we use to reach out to those students to start their registration. And so we hopefully take that burden off of you and you having to push them and force them to the website to complete their registration. And then we also ask that you provide the guardian email as well, so that we can keep them updated with how they can follow along to the program and follow their students' progress. So then you'll just click review. It'll give you the opportunity to review the information you put into the form here and edit if you see that something was incorrect. Scroll down to the bottom, complete registration, and you're done. So this is the piece of registration that we're asking be completed by February 23. So you go into this registration form, you enter the information for the students you want to send to Arkansas Boys State. And then, like I said, we will pull that information and contact your students using that email address so that they can begin their piece of the registration puzzle at the end of February and early March. And then we'll have communication with you from there on making sure that they get registered and then starting the payment process as well. And then I've got my personal email pulled up here on my computer, and I just saw that I got a confirmation email from this registration because I just completed it. So you'll get a confirmation email as well that you can keep for your records. So that does it for us and all the information that we had planned for all of you. Thank you so much for your attention. We want to turn it over now to you though and start addressing some of the questions that we saw in the chat. You can, if you have a question that's not already in the chat, you can put it in the chat, or if you are feeling social and you want to unmute your mic and ask, we just ask that you click the raise your hand feature, and we'll make sure that you get the chance to answer or to ask that question. Let's see here. So Thomas, I know that you have a list of questions that you've been following along. I know that we answered the parking lot question. Stacy from Guy Perkins, I believe. Stacy, you asked if the students register themselves or if you registered them as their counselor. So you nominate them as the counselor, then they register themselves, and then you complete the payment. So that's the simple answer there.
Caleb, let me toss this question to Lloyd from Julie Landrum from Stuttgart. In Julie's experience, Lloyd, she's seen that the girls in her school might be a little bit more excited for Girls State than the boys are for Boys State. How would you recommend motivating the boys?
You know, I'm very biased in this, and that I'm a male, and what we have found is as we deal with young men, it's more about us pushing the narrative than them really getting excited about on the front end. Young ladies, and I'm going to show some biases here, but young ladies are very future driven, and they're looking at what is it that they need or want to do in order to move their chances up and they're going to college. Sometimes young men are more laissez-faire, and we kind of have to push them out here to do this work. But once they get engaged with us, more often than not, they leave with a positive experience from, now, is that 100%? Probably not. Some young men, as we tell our delegates, you get out of it what you put into it. And so they come in and they're willing to explore new things, get outside their comfort zone, then they really have a great experience. I saw a question in there about roommates, and I'll go ahead and share in this discomfort world. We do a lot of randomizing on purpose. And so we assign our delegates to random counties, and we ensure that we do the best we can to ensure that they're not in the same county, if possible, if they're in the same county, not in the same city, with people from their same school. So you get exposed to different people. And so the counties themselves are housed or dormed together, and that's another random assignment. And so as young men show up, we randomly assign them rooms for them to be with roommates in that space, which is another grand piece to our program, in that you get another opportunity to experience a different perspective throughout the week.
That was a great answer. That was a big thing for me as a delegate in 2014 was getting placed outside of my comfort zone and embracing how that grew me and shaped me and molded me as a young man. And I was grateful for that. Let's see. I see that Stacy, you had another question in here. Should I secure sponsorship from your American Legion post before registration? I would say the sooner that you can figure out how you're going to pay for those students, the better. You know, if February 23 rolls around and you're still trying to figure that process out, please get those students nominated. As we've said, we don't want a student that you've nominated not be able to attend because we haven't figured out a funding situation. So yeah, I would say the sooner the better you can figure that out, but don't let not being able to secure funding stop your students from attending Arkansas Boys State, because we will, I'll just say confidently, we will find a way to make sure that they can attend Arkansas Boys State. I also saw a question in here, can a student be unnominated after the registration has been completed? And I think that's a great question. So the answer is yes, that if you've nominated a student who you thought is your cream of the crop, and then they come along and really do something that you're like, this student is not worthy to represent my high school at Arkansas Boys State, we can absolutely pull their registration and we'll work with you on a one-on-one case-by-case scenario to do that. I will say that it's really helpful for us if the students that you nominate by this February 23 deadline are really all in and committed to attendance, because we use those numbers from the February 23 deadline to plan for the session. So think about buying t-shirts, buying supplies, making sure that we have enough space at UCA. And so it's really helpful for us if you can hold those students to that and make sure that those that you nominate are those that attend. But on a case-by-case basis, yeah, we can make those things happen. And you're welcome, Kendall. By the way, this is for everyone. I'll send an email out to you all after this is over, either later this evening or tomorrow, that have all of these great resources in the email. So links to different pages on our website, a copy of this slideshow if you'd like to share it with students, and kind of a resource email to wrap all of this up. Thomas, does it look like we're missing any other questions that have been asked?
Caleb, let me jump in on that.
Oh, go ahead.
Conversation for just a second. Because in Hot Springs, we nominated young men from within the staff, then they were selected, and they didn't have any much choice in whether or not they got on the ballot or not. It was totally by nomination from the staff. We had alternates prepared already. And so we sent our top 10, but we had about 15, a list of 15. So in that top 10, they had conflicts, they couldn't make it. If by chance something came up and they couldn't make it, those kind of things, we just kept going down our list and let them know that the alternate is now being pushed into that spot. So we kept our team there.
Craig?
Caleb, I was just going to jump in. You asked about unanswered questions. I think we've covered everything either verbally or in the chat. Let me restate two answers that I think we provided in the chat. One was about locating contact information for your American Legion posts. It is on our website. There's a map on a page about those American Legion posts at the bottom. I'll reshare the link to that page. And if you scroll down to the bottom of that page, it includes a map of American Legion posts in the state of Arkansas. And then if you zoom in to find one that's maybe near your high school, you can click on that post and it'll list a phone number usually for it and contact information. Again, if you have any difficulty doing that, please just reach out to us via email. We'd be more than happy to help. And then one other question, Craig, maybe I'll let you take this, and then anything else you want to say there too about scholarship possibilities that I think you might have answered in the chat.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Yeah, I was just going to retouch on it a little bit. We put some information in the chat with a link. You can look at the National American Legion website. There's a whole lot of information around the Samsung scholarship. We could have an entire different webinar just on that scholarship, but just know there are opportunities there. There's also, I'll say this, as a former recipient of scholarships, I was able to put, of course, that I went to Arkansas Boys State for future scholarship applications. So we highly recommend you leverage that with your students as you're nominating them, as your faculty's nominating those students to attend. This opens up the door for opportunities beyond Boys State. And then to Lloyd's point as well earlier, it's very normal that we have people signed up and then late in the game, they say they can't attend. So we certainly want to accept those alternates. We want to make sure we still have everybody showing up. And so just keep that in mind. It doesn't hurt to have alternates ready to go, especially if you have a student that you just aren't sure if they're going to be able to commit or not. So I wanted to hit on that. Other than that, I think that's all I had. And just really excited that everyone called in today. I really thank you for your time. We value your time. We know this took up your afternoon. Even if you may be home on a snow day, we appreciate it very much. And thanks, Caleb.
Lloyd and Craig, maybe a question for one of you. Just got a question in the chat from Julie asking, does a student who attended this past year virtually, are they now qualified for the Samsung scholarship as well? If one of you could take that. And then I think we might have touched on the governor's scholarship, but if not, can we talk on that?
Yeah, so the Samsung is for the year of, so the year that you attend is the year that you can apply. And there are some rules or qualifications you have to have. You have to have someone who served, a grandparent, a dad who's a veteran in that in order to be eligible for that scholarship. But that is only for the year that. So last year's delegates had that option available. So that was, we send out information around the Samsung to the delegates and their parent as well in our communications when it comes out at the end of February, beginning of March. And one of the scholarships I want to share that's out there, I say scholarship, it's an opportunity more so than a scholarship. The young man who becomes governor of Arkansas American Legion Boys State program got a choice of about 4 colleges he can go to for free. UCA being one of them, gives him a full tuition scholarship to UCA, Arkansas Tech University, Arkansas State University, and Henderson State University all provide, if the governor decides to go there, both boy state governor or girl state governor decide to go there, they get to go there tuition free. And we're going to work on University of Arkansas and some others to do that, but those were 4 of our early adopters to that scholarship.
In my emails promoting this webinar to all of you, I promised that we would keep it at 45 minutes and be cognizant of your time and grateful for your time. Our contact information is on the screen here. If you ever need to reach out to us, info@AR-Boys-State. There's a phone number and then our social media handle. Please don't hesitate to reach out. We'll respond in the timeliest manner that we can. Lloyd shared that we are a volunteer staff that makes up Arkansas Boys State. So sometimes it's not our full-time job. So sometimes we can't respond as soon as we'd like to, but we will get to you in the timeliest manner that we can. I will send these resources in an email to all of you later this evening or tomorrow, including the PowerPoint and links to some outside resources as well. Lloyd, would you like to close us out with any parting thoughts?
Certainly. Again, I want to reiterate a thanks to you and your time, taking the time to be with us and working with us, because this is just a small portion of the time you put in to support this program. And we're getting delegates, registering delegates, and those kind of things. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. If I could send you gifts, I would. But again, with $250, 5 nights of hotel stay and meals, we don't have a lot of overage on that. But there are 17,000 juniors in the state of Arkansas right now. We have a goal of getting 615 of them at Arkansas American Legion Boys State. And that's only possible with your support. So again, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Great. Thank you all. Y'all enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe and stay warm. And